Hey everybody, this is Brandon along with my co-host Spot. You are listening to part 2 of our podcast and enjoy. So something I think I said in a previous podcast and I was talking to a buddy about this is the Wii U had an atrocious launch.
Yeah.
The week it launched someone mentioned it to me and I was like, wait, they launched? No, they didn't. They did.
And I will point out in your favor that when you brought this up on a previous episode, I was like, nah, you're overreacting. It's probably not that big of a deal. So I'm eating, I'm eating my words here. Go ahead.
Are they delicious?
Yes.
Sorry. So Nintendo posted a 366 million annual operating loss. Saying that the Wii U sold 3.45 million consoles, and that they previously started out saying that they were going to sell 5.5. And then they're like, well, okay, we're going to lower that to 4, and they still hadn't reached that. And there's, it's honestly like, they don't have a lot of titles for it. They don't have anything big for it. What's the point of me getting it? I have a Wii. I enjoy it. I don't see a point to upgrading if there's nothing, big and new. I'm gonna get an Xbox because there's stuff that's big and new. It's better. This isn't a next-gen console. It's a current-gen console that also has a handheld with it. And so, I don't know. I don't see. And the funny thing is, this is their second year in a row where they have actually had a loss.
Yeah, which is very unheard of for them.
Yeah, I believe it's also only the second time ever that they've posted a loss. So I'm kind of worried because I like Nintendo. They make good stuff.
Well, I mean, you know what? The Wii U might be a flop, right?
Yeah.
Which the problem is, not the problem. The honest thing is that it probably won't be a flop, mainly because Nintendo has control of such iconic franchises that they'll be able to prop it up with those. I don't think that we have a Dreamcast situation on our hands here. I don't think Nintendo's going to go down, right?
No,
or anything
definitely
like that.
not.
Yeah, so I think that it might be. I think that one of the things that's a real downside for this for the industry is, as I also mentioned in a previous episode, I think that Nintendo's always been willing to bet a lot of money on pushing new tech, right, or new ways for people to interact with that tech.
Mm-hmm.
That aren't proven standards, and a fail on something like this might make them a bit hesitant to push as far next time, which is, I think, unfortunate because innovation is good for everybody.
Yeah.
But again, if innovation fails, and it always fails at some point, somebody has to pay for it. So we'll see. So.
One thing that's always a risk. I don't know. I've never been much into adaptations, but there's a Ratchet and Clank film coming in 2015.
I am so excited for this.
Can I be honest?
I'm a huge Ratchet and Clank fan.
Never
you can be honest as long as it's nothing negative remotely against Ratchet and Clank.
I've never played any of the Ratchet and Clank games.
That's negative. I'm never talking to you again.
Well. Guys.
Okay, Ratchet and Clank is great for multiple reasons, right?
Okay.
It's cute, but not so cute that it's disgusting.
Okay.
Not like Pokemon disgusting cute. Okay.
I like Pokemon.
Huh?
I like Pokemon.
I didn't say people shouldn't like Pokemon, but Pokemon is like disgusting level cute. It's like, oh my god, I'm gonna die from a sweet tooth type.
Okay.
Cute. Ratchet and Clank isn't. It's a little bit more mature type cute. It's funny. They're all really funny, but they're not so funny that they're stupid. Okay.
Gotcha.
It's fun gameplay. It really is fun. It's sci-fi, which is great. And the most important thing to me is that it's PlayStation exclusive.
Oh yeah, is it?
I believe so. Yes.
Oh, I honestly I don't keep much up with PlayStation stuff. I had a PlayStation 1, and that's about as far as I got.
Well, the PlayStation 3 and 4 actually, based on current understanding, is far more powerful than its counterparts on the Microsoft side.
Yeah.
So, but
I mean, I like what they do. One of my things is I'd love to get the PS Vita. They never gave it the PSN support that it needed. You know.
I'm not really as interested in the handhelds personally.
Oh.
But their consoles, their like home consoles, have been beast beasts. You know, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
for instance, you
definitely.
didn't hear anything about the U.S. Air Force buying 10,000 Xbox 360s to build a supercomputer out of. No, you didn't.
True.
But you
The
did hear it about the PS3.
the thing with that also is they use it for graphics stuff, and this is a plus side and a negative with PlayStation is it has more RAM dedicated to graphics. Or no, it has more
Mhm.
RAM in general. But it's split up between dedicated to graphics and then dedicated to other stuff.
Mhm.
The problem with that is the Xbox. You know, while the Xbox may not have as more RAM, the problem with when there was a big issue porting Skyrim DLCs over to PS3 was because they didn't have enough RAM.
Mhm.
Because you could use 90% of the Xbox RAM towards graphics and get done what you need to get done. And that 90% chunk was bigger than the chunk that was dedicated to graphics with the PS3. And so
Right.
you ran into issues where, like, yeah, they have more RAM, but you can only use
Yeah.
this much, which is smaller than the available use with the Xbox. And so,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, like, they build beefy systems. I've always been impressed
So
with
the
that.
PS3 would handle physics calculations far better than a 360.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you had overall more to work with the Xbox, and it's honestly it's just the way it was designed, and I am very much positive that that won't be a problem with this new Xbox or new PS3.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they kind of learned that lesson when people had to wait for DLC like for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Absolutely. Well, and this isn't what we're talking about here, but I'll just say this one point. I think the fact that the most important thing about the PS4 is that they've switched back to the x86 architecture.
Oh yeah,
Because I think the cell chip was amazing, and I think the fact that they would go there and they had the kahunas to do it, that's really awesome. But I think that it held back developers so much, and it was so difficult for porting that it just hurt them overall. And I think this will be better. Actually, I was reading something I think on GameIndustry.biz that the launch title lineup for PlayStation 4 is going to be the largest launch lineup they've ever had for any of their
wow.
consoles, which is really awesome. Yeah, because they need that really bad. And now I just need to actually get the money to afford one. Anyway, right, yeah. So that'll be cool. But yes, the film, Ratchet and Clank film, yeah, it has the right look.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never played it, so I'll probably see it. I just haven't.
You should. Did any of your friends have a PS3?
No.
You should totally play Ratchet and Clank. It's awesome.
I will make a friend.
It
with
feels
a PS3.
actually. Did you ever play Crash Bandicoot?
Oh, I love Crash Bandicoot.
Okay. It feels like that, but next gen.
Nice.
It's very that type of gameplay. It's futuristic sci-fi too, but it's more like cartoony futuristic sci-fi. It's good. It's really good. But it's that type of gameplay. It's great. And you have the different weapons and stuff that you upgrade, but the weapons are like kind of kooky weapons, right? Like
Gotcha.
there's one, I forget what it's called, but it actually it's like a grenade launcher of slime, but it launches slime balls and they stick to the ground and they just sit there pulsing, and when an enemy gets nearby they like grow into these huge mammoth slime monsters and like start beating them. It's hilarious. Anyway. And actually there's actually one where you can actually throw up this ball and it turns into a crystal, not a crystal ball, a mirror ball, and music starts playing and all the enemies on the floor start dancing a jig and they stop attacking you.
Huh.
It's awesome. Anyway, good stuff. Spent way too much time on this. Just a slight mention, something really cool. The company Royal Jumbo, which has been around for 160 years, right? They're pretty much the oldest social gaming company on the planet. They did stuff, old games, but one of them being that some people might remember called Stratego, which is an awesome game that you put armies up, and it's kind of like a very simplified 1v1 Risk. Yeah. Have you played it?
I have not. I've played Risk,
but
I haven't played
Stratego.
Stratego.
Yeah. Stratego is cool. It's there's got to be an online version somewhere. Anyway, they started noticing, that all the online social gaming and things like that have been eating into their profit margins hardcore in sales. So they actually started this new iPod thing where they actually have games that run on the iPad, and you have these special physical pieces that the iPad can detect, and you use them literally on the board.
That's
using
cool.
the iPad as a board. Yeah, it's really cool, and they've had several games and they're having a lot of good success. I will point out as a side thing, because I have an issue with Apple, is that they actually stated that one of their biggest problems was actually getting Apple to approve the idea so that they would put it in their app store. And I think that that is ludicrous.
It's dumb.
That Apple would need to put their stamp on something for you to even have anything on there. It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway.
Rant.
So speaking of like old games and games that are fun, curious, because once again, me and my buddies the other night brought up this discussion. What are your 5 most liked games of all time?
What are your 5 most liked games?
My 5
That'll
most
give me a
liked.
chance to think about mine.
All right, go ahead and think. It's hard because I immediately want to go into like, this is an iconic game, or this game was awesome. Command and Conquer Tiberian Sun, top of the list. I absolutely love that game. Second on the list is Command and Conquer Red Alert 2. Those games were just magnificent. I love those games. Mech Warrior, specifically Mech Warrior 3, was I loved those games. I loved being in the mechs and walking around and the battles and just it was great. 4 would probably have to be Guild Wars. I spent so much time in there, and I made a lot of good friends in that game. That it's always gonna have that place in my heart muscle. For me.
That's dirty.
My heart muscle's dirty?
Yeah, I know how black it is.
Oh, gosh.
With evilness.
Okay, listen. I'm not a bad person. I'm not evil.
Mm-hmm.
How am I evil?
What's number 5?
Number 5 is this is a tough part because I don't know, like, I feel like I should say KOTOR Knights of the Old Republic.
Great game.
I liked it. I've honestly only played through it fully once. So, and here's the thing, like, I have trouble playing through like those types of games multiple times because I start to remember everything, so it kind of loses its luster. But yeah, I'm probably gonna say Knights of the Old Republic.
Okay. Interesting. Well, those are all very I would say credible list items.
I'm glad you approve.
I do. I approves.
I was gonna cry myself to sleep if you didn't.
Let's see. Mine in not order of importance at all. I would say I have kind of a thing for massive games, just because I like being around people.
Yeah.
And I like things being large and where you can explore and etc. Lineage 2 was an amazing MMO, very amazing MMO, and I think part of it was that it was the first MMO that I played that was really built from a PvP standpoint, and I'm not a PvP player at all. Like, I just don't enjoy it at all. Like, I've never dueled in my life. Yeah. People ask me to duel, and I'm like, ignore that. I don't like dueling. Yeah. It has no point. I like things that have points. The thing about Lineage 2, though, is Lineage 2 has a lot of PvE, right? Yeah. But in Lineage 2, you can always be attacked and killed by another player. There's always consequences, right? Yeah. They get tagged as a murderer. They can't enter towns. Blah blah blah. A lot of the things that you hear, you see now that are consequences, they were consequences a long time in Lineage 2. And that whole world was really cool. Like in Lineage 2, you and I recently had a conversation about castle sieges in Guild Wars 2, right? Yeah. In Lineage 2, you could literally, there were 7 castles in the entire world, and you could, as a guild, you could literally siege a castle that was being held by another guild, and sometimes they went on for hours and hours and hours and hours, sometimes days. And they were so huge that there were actually places in each major city that you could go to, these like spire type things, and you could spectate castle sieges that were happening somewhere else, right? And if you took control of the castle, you could actually you controlled an entire region of the world, and you got taxes and resources from the towns in that area, and people who were actually playing in those areas were impacted by the fact that you held that castle. And there were also things like you could get dragon eggs, and you could ride dragons. But the only way that you could actually ride a dragon is if you were actually the head of a guild that controlled a castle. And it was really cool. Like just the fact that you could impact the world like that. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, that is really
Eve
cool.
would be one. Eve would be one. Eve's one that I haven't had a lot of time to play, unfortunately, because I work so much. But it's one of those that I want to play so much, and it's actually I guess influenced me so much.
Yeah.
And it's I like things that that have a lot of variety, and you can make your mark on the world, etc. Star Wars Galaxies, for reasons that I already talked about before. Amazing experiences there with a bunch of friends. I've never experienced another MMO that I had that much amazing experiences with. I'm not going to pick one. The entire Civilization series, just hands down amazing.
I dig it.
And I would say StarCraft. The original StarCraft even more than the second one, mainly because I had a lot more time to play when I was younger.
Yeah.
Great experiences. And just as kind of an honorable mention, and it's not even really a game, but I would say Second Life, just because the fact that you have a world where you can more or less build anything, and you can do anything.
Yeah.
Anything, trust me. Sometimes scary. That's kind of like I guess the apex of my interest in making a mark on the world, right? So I think Second Life gets laughed at by gamers sometimes because it doesn't have a lot of shooting in it or action or blah blah blah. But it's not really a game. That's the whole point, right? But it's really, if you want to go and you want to build something, sometimes build something that you could never build in the real world and have friends and blah blah. It's a really cool thing. So yeah, that would be my 5 plus an honorable mention.
Nice.
Yay. I don't think any of ours actually overlapped there, did they?
No, we had completely separate lists.
Although I will say, I love Red Alert 2. Although I'm more fan of Red Alert, the first one, but I'm older than you. I thought Tiberian Sun was a massive flop.
Really?
And I'm a huge Command & Conquer fan. But honestly, I got a leak of Tiberian Sun like 2 weeks before it actually hit the shelf. I'm not going to even talk about that. I was young. And me and my cousin Ian, right, who I mentioned earlier, we played those games. We were looking forward to it. And we got it. We're like, this must be an alpha. This is horrible. This is so unpolished. And no, that was actually what they released. So,
see,
anyway.
The thing with me with that game is I played through it. It was great. I played a lot of online multiplayer with it. And it was a lot of fun. I made some good friends that way, and then I downloaded a program that would let you mod it, and so then after a while I went in and I would mod it, and I had a blast.
Interesting. Actually, we should talk about that sometime because I didn't know about the modding. I don't know if I've ever actually even talked about that. Cool. Well, and my keyboard is being a jerk right now. My control key's going out, so sometimes hitting Control Z to undo something just gives me a Z. Give me a Z. Anyway, yeah. Yeah. Moving on to our next topic. How's that for a segue?
Spot on.
I don't know if you. I know. Oh, that's cute. I don't know if you ever actually heard of Storybricks.
I haven't.
I heard of Storybricks somewhere, and I want to think I actually heard about it from something Raph Koster posted, but I forget. Anyway, it's a system that literally allows you to build out story segments that like an NPC would do, right? So you can say, okay, there's this piece of story, and there's these options, and this option leads on a tree, right, to these options over here, and blah 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 blah, right?
Yeah.
It's more of a tool to build story segments and build the quests and stuff that a person would interact with an NPC,
Yeah.
etc. But it's more in depth than that. I'm not an expert on it by any means. But one of the interesting things is that it seems that they've been working with Sony Online for EverQuest Next, which is something I'm greatly looking forward to, because I was never a big EverQuest player, but EverQuest 2 I played a lot with a lot of friends, especially when I lived in California and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and EverQuest Next, they've claimed, is going to be completely different than anything they've ever done before, etc. And in this article on GameIndustry.biz, they actually talk about how they're actually integrating the Storybricks concept with the Storybricks company, so that, and they specifically say, developers and players can craft stories, which is really awesome, because like I've said before, I like user-generated content stuff where I can actually make my mark on the world. That's awesome. And we see more of that coming out, which is awesome. Star Trek Online has the Forge, where you can build entire missions and other people can play them, and it's really cool, because I've actually played a lot of them, and it's like these little stories, and you're like, wow, that's really awesome. So I'm really interested to see how far they take that. They're claiming it's going to be the most diverse and vast sandbox game ever released, but who knows how much of that is marketing speak and what's real. But I'm really looking forward to it, because the EverQuest universe is really cool.
Sounds interesting.
And Sony Online's had their stumbles, but I actually like them as a company.
Yeah, Sony usually does a good job with stuff.
Yeah, and we know you like PlanetSide.
Yeah, I love PlanetSide. Speaking of like MMOs and whatnot, Steam's now carrying subscription-based games.
I find this interesting. Yeah.
I don't know why they're doing this. Steam. Everybody praises Steam. One thing that they do is they don't let people patch through their own patchers.
That's not necessarily true.
That was why Battlefield 3 wasn't on Steam.
Yeah, what's really weird about this is that, and I heard that about, for instance, Mass Effect 2, right?
Yeah.
Or 3. I think it was
3.
2.
And Minecraft, same reason.
Yeah. What's weird about this, that I don't understand where their line is, right? Because, okay, so I have Steam up here, right?
Yeah.
And I have to remember which of these are actually on Steam and which aren't, because I have things, non-Steam stuff added to my library here. Okay, Warframe, which we talked about in the previous episode, they have their own launcher. It patches in their own launcher. Star Trek Online, it patches in their own launcher. Raiders.
Yeah, they have
another MMO. It patches in their own launcher.
Really weird line.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know where that sits. It's like, okay, it's free to play. You can patch in your own launcher. Oh, they have to pay for it? No, well, only we do it. It's kind of strange. I mean, maybe it has something to do with them not wanting them to cut them out later after they've developed. I don't know what the deal is. Speaking of that, though, what's interesting about this, though, is that I was thinking, okay, so they're allowing subscription-based MMOs. How involved are they? And then I read down in the article, and they're handling the actual payment.
Really?
So you actually pay through Steam, and you can cancel your subscription through Steam, which is really interesting and would make me a tad disconcerted as the actual game owner.
Yeah, that
I don't mean user, I mean the company that owns the game. It's kind of like, really, so Steam controls our revenue stream like that hardcore? That's pretty wow. Yeah. So I don't know. I wonder if it's as bad as the normal game, because from my understanding, it's like 30% on normal games that Steam takes. I wonder if it's like that on the recurring, because that's a big chunk of revenue, for a lot of people.
Which they're not going to get any big companies doing that.
Yeah, who knows? It's
Speaking of game companies, when THQ went out of business, which is, it's unfortunate. I liked THQ.
I did too. Actually, it was funny. You had mentioned this earlier, and my first thought was, actually, I would say, at the time, if you had asked me if there was any publisher that I would actually claim to really like I really genuinely liked, THQ would be about it.
Huh.
Really. Because they're the only ones that actually seem not to be assholes.
Yeah. And then they left town.
Yeah, so I guess nice guys do finish last.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
at least
so Gearbox has picked up the Homeworld franchise.
this is. I don't. When I say this, I don't mean this derogatory at all. But I'm a lot older than you, so
Yeah.
this may not seem like a big deal to you. This is a huge deal. In fact, I actually linked this to my ex partner,
Yeah.
who's older than me, even, and he responded just a few minutes ago, and he was like, "Oh wow!" The Homeworld franchise is awesome. It's difficult to explain. It's really really cool. It's space RTS, right?
Huh.
And we've had some of those, but this was like real space base building RTS type thing. Really, we've seen people take the RTS type thing and make it in space and blah, blah. This was more or less like they took Command and Conquer and they put it in space, but they did it right, right?
Hmm.
Great games, really awesome. And the interesting thing about this is that because THQ was in Chapter 11, their the sale of their assets is being handled by a court, of course,
Yeah.
because for you international people, that's how it's handled in the U.S. There's actually a bankruptcy court, and they handle it. They assign someone to handle those things.
Yeah.
And as a side point, this purchase isn't actually confirmed yet, but there's no reason why it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Should be done by the end of May. They were only one of three bidders, actually. One of the other bidders was Stardock, which Stardock has made things like Sins of a Solar Empire.
Yeah. Since the Solar Empire.
Yeah, and several other games. I mean, it was interesting that they were bidding on this. And another one was a group called Team Pixel, which the interesting thing is they had actually held a Kickstarter that funded to get the rights for this. And since they lost the rights, they're actually having to refund all those backers.
Oh wow.
Which is actually a bit sad.
Yeah.
Actually, in fact, I'll say about this whole thing, I like Gearbox, but Gearbox has seemed to have an issue with anything that's not theirs. Like they do really well with Borderlands, and they've done really well with Brothers in Arms, right? But almost everything else they've done, they've fumbled it. Like Duke Nukem, Aliens, Colonial Marines. It's kind of like now. Again, you don't know how much of that is the publisher. It could be Sega. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things where I hope they don't screw it up. Also, another interesting thing about this, and then we need to move on because we've already went over our time, is that this auction purchase, the bid, was primarily spearheaded by the chief creative officer at Gearbox, who's a huge, longtime fan of the franchise. And supposedly what they're going to be doing first is they're going to take the original games, Homeworld and Homeworld 2, and they're going to make them available on current platforms. So, like, I think actually running Homeworld 2, for instance, on a PC now is difficult, if possible at all. But we don't know if that's going to be like a PC re-release or it's going to be on like tablets or what. But it'll be cool either way, as long as they don't screw it up. So hopefully a Homeworld 3 will be coming because the storyline is really cool as well. It's almost like a kind of a Battlestar Galactica type thing, in that the reason it's called Homeworld is that your world is destroyed by an alien species, and your ship, which is primarily the source of your base, is a mothership, and it literally is like if you lose that ship, your entire civilization is gone.
Wow.
So, and they push that pretty hard, so it actually has there's this incentive to like, oh my god, we have to protect it type thing. So anyway, really cool stuff. If you like RTSs, you should check out Homeworld. I don't know if it's on GOG. It might be. Who knows?
I don't know. So, well, everybody, it's getting to be about that time that we wrap this up. As usual, we love feedback. So honestly, in the comments or video response or ghost signals, not ghost signals. I guess ghost signals. Yeah. Smoke signals. Morse code. Let us know. What's a favorite gaming experience of yours, or even your top 5 games. Tell us how much we are wrong in
Absolutely.
what we've decided.
Contrary to popular belief, we like being told why we're wrong.
Yes, because then I
and
get
we'll
to argue
also
back.
accept carrier pigeon.
Uh, yes. That is.
In
I
fact, I
set
think we
that up
prefer
yesterday.
carrier pigeon, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah, I set that up yesterday, so we do now get carrier pigeon.
Awesome.
Um, we are always open to new hosts. So we have email down below. Feel free to send us a link to like uh your just a clip of yourself talking. Maybe upload it to SoundCloud and send us that link. Please don't send us the actual file because it can get like messed up in the sending and it just doesn't sound good. Am I missing anything?
Yeah, we don't want you to accidentally sound like us. That
Yeah.
would that would suck. We want you
That
to sound better than us.
yeah, the worse you are, I guess the worse it is. Like don't sound bad. We want this to be good quality despite what we sound like.
So do as we say, not as we do. That's what we do.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Like a good example is we never give ourselves money, so you should give us money.
I don't know exactly how that logic works out, but I'm willing to go with it.
Yeah, just go with it.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um. Anyway, so have a great morning, evening, night, afternoon, whenever you're listening to this. Have a great one, and thanks for listening.
Yeah.